So it's cool that we get to see what Markus is using here. I imagine he's probably not going to use the team he's going to use in 2 weeks at the World Championships here. But, he is among the best players in the game. So cool to get to see what he's going to be bringing for this one as he tries to win another prize.
Faux show, guys. Yeah, don't forget, we are in round 2, actually. Only 16 competitors left going for the $1,000 in prizes here on twitch.tv/Nugget Bridge. And as you can see, we got Lajo's team on screen, so we'll read those ones off really quick. We got the Farathorn with the Heat Rotom, as well as the Azumarill, the Hydreigon, that Lucario that's a huge threat, and a possible airdrop, or Skydrop, airdrop. Skydrop Aerodactyl, and then Yoshi's team that we can't actually see, I'll tell you guys really quick, it's a Salamence, Garchomp, Wash Rotom, Mawile, Kang, and Gengar.
Yeah, so 2 pretty interesting teams here. Especially Lajos' team is not, I guess, not the most standard team you've ever seen, right? I mean, you don't see Kangaskhan or Mawile there, which are by far the 2 most common megas. He has Lucario and Aerodactyl, who could potentially be the mega Pokemon in his team. So we get a matchup that's not quite what we normally see here. On Yoshi's end, we've got the Mawile there. So one of the few VGC matches this year where you'll definitely not see Mega Kangaskhan. I feel like this is something we might see more and more of moving forward. I think there's going to be, I'd guess probably keep about 30-40% of the teams using Kangaskhan in a given, pretty much every tournament from now on. But more and more of the top players, I think, are going to try not to get caught up in that mirror. So interesting to see both of these players choosing to go away from the Kangaskhan route and try some other things this time.
All right, let's see what we get as the leads here do come out for both competitors. We see the Salamence and Wash Rotom lead there for Markus, or otherwise known as Yoshi, and the Aerodactyl Lucario lead there from Lajos. Now, firing off that Intimidate into the Aerodactyl slot, as well as Lucario. Not sure if that's physical or a special Lucario there. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but most likely the Mega, I would assume. And it looks like we're getting a touch of lag here, guys. Give me one quick second. There we go. I'm all caught up, and both competitors staring each other down fiercely.
Yeah, it's a pretty awkward turn 1 to play for Markus here. Both Lucario and Aerodactyl could reasonably be support Pokemon, or they could reasonably Mega, so tough to figure out how to play this one. Lucario could be a Mega, one of the more powerful offensive Megas because of how well it deals with some big threats like Kangaskhan, but it also is capable of learning moves like Follow Me to be more of a support-oriented set, and Aerodactyl can do the same thing. I think it's a little less likely that it's the Mega, but it has that option. It can run a Mega set using Skydrop to kind of be disruptive, or it can be a support set, which could also use Skydrop and moves like Tailwind. So, if this is game 2 or 3, this would be a much easier lead situation for Markus, but a lot of things could happen here.
Definitely. Now, it looks like I do see Markus finally making the moves there, doing a lot of thinking here. Of course, this is important. I mean, we're already into the top 16. I mean, the cut was huge. You cut down from 32 to 16, and these guys are 2 rounds away from winning some serious cash right now. So he's finishing up right there, finishing that move on the Rotom. There we go. He's locked in. And we see the Mega Aerodactyl, actually, non-Mega Lucario. The Mega Aerodactyl is what we're going to get. That thing is awesome looking. And we do see, big old bite down onto, that is brutal. The Salamence going back to its trainer. I can't believe it. Oh, man. To Ice Fang to the face. And then Lucario going with a close combat, it looks like, but lowering, of course, its stats there.
Yeah, big first turn there. A quick knockout. And like I mentioned, that's kind of a trouble of playing against a lead combination like this. You really don't know which Pokemon's going to Mega Evolve. And we wind up not getting the more common Mega. It looks like the information we got in the team isn't quite right here, since we do have Kangaskhan out here after all. But it's not probably the most favorable Kangaskhan matchup in the world. I'm sure it's happy to see Lucario instead of a Mega Lucario here, because at least it's a little bit more manageable, but a rough situation here. And I do want to touch on one other thing you mentioned too, as far as Yoshi was taking a lot more time to deliberate that turn. But this is a really exciting matchup for the fans, with Lajos and Markus running into each other so early, because they're both excellent players, and they're both players I think could reasonably win this tournament. But for the players in a single elimination tournament, you don't want to run into someone that good that early. So I think this is a really big game for both of them, knowing that they've gotten really tough opponents for a second round, and I'd expect them to continue moving a little more slowly and taking their time to make sure they make the right decision every turn.
Agreed there. Now, is there a possibility of a Mega Lucario here, just maybe brought it anyway and still has a Mega Stone on it?
Definitely a chance of it.
That would be really, really interesting. It looks like both trainers are locked in. We do see the switch on Lucario from Lajo here. And the switch into Ferrothorn, interesting. That could be huge. That could be huge if it's going to take any damage into that slot from Kangaskhan here. Now Kangaskhan going Mega as well. All right. And we're going to get a Protect on Aerodactyl. No thank you. For no more Thunderbolts for me. But nice call hitting that slot actually, but the Ferrothorn eating up that Hydro Pump. And what are we going to see? I believe Kangaskhan hitting into that protecting Aerodactyl there.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough spot for Aerodactyl here. Likely going to need to switch out. I guess Lajos does get a nice safe switch there with the Ferrothorn. Very good against both of these Pokemon, since Kangaskhan's going to do just about as much damage to it as it would do to itself if it tried to attack it. And Lumberry common and Ferrothorn, though we haven't seen it yet, but it could stop that Will-O-Wisp most likely from Rotom here. So a good spot for it. Likely we'll have to see Aerodactyl retreat. I don't know if we'll see Lucario come in here, who probably doesn't want to take a Hydro Pump or anything or not. But
yeah, I wouldn't recommend taking that right now. Okay, we do actually see the Sky Drop onto Rotom, taking it out of play there. And, oh no, that's going to hurt. Gyro Ball, lots of damage to that speedy Kangaskhan. So pretty brutal, and I think Kangaskhan actually ended up missing its attack onto that Aerodactyl. All right, chose really fast, already knew what he wanted to do. Aerodactyl drops the Rotom, proccing the Citrus Berry, going to get 1/4 of its health back. Will Kangaskhan finally get to connect on that Aerodactyl for the third turn? And there it is, a big old power-up punch. Going to raise it one stage here, but I'm pretty scared, man. A Gyro Ball could be pretty nasty. Oh, the Will-O-Wisp, though. Nice. Love the connect of the Will-O-Wisp from that Rotom. Procking the Lumberry. I love the Lumberry call. You got to love the Lumberry Ferrothorn. And what are we going to see here from our trainers? That was crazy. Got to love the Lumberry there.
It's kind of hard to follow exactly what's happening here.
I think we saw a miss.
Neither of us speak German. Yeah, I believe it power whipped and missed on Rotom there, so a little unfortunate there. Kind of a funny two turns there, since you would have expected Kangaskhan to Sucker Punch, but it didn't, and then it kind of got the turn back because you would have expected Gyro Ball and Kangaskhan, but it didn't happen either. Yeah.
Now we actually are seeing the competitors go relatively quick here. We do see the switch into the Garchomp there, Protect on Lucario. Doesn't want that Rotom to get rid of it there. And Rotom protecting as well, doesn't want to take that Power Whip that fortunately missed last time. And there it is, a Gyro Ball into the slot of the Garchomp, going to do a lot of damage. Garchomp also another speedy Pokemon, losing a little bit of health, though, from what I believe is Rough Skin there.
Yeah, a little bit of damage there, but a lot of damage getting applied to Marcus's team here. Ferrothorn, even though it wasn't able to double target anything to actually pick up a knockout there, and I guess it missed the chance it had with the Power Whip miss, it's slowly whittling down the team there. Gyro Ball did huge amounts of damage to Garchomp and Kangaskhan now, and it really makes Marcus a lot less flexible here. He only has 3 Pokemon left for the big knockout in the first turn, and they've all been weakened quite a bit, where Ferrothorn can get them in one more hit.
All right. Let's see what we get here. A big Earthquake, of course, doesn't affect the Rotom. Oh, a huge hit on Lucario. But he hangs on. It's Focus Sash Lucario. We have just figured out the item there. Focus Sash, I believe, on that Lucario. Hidden back with a close combat. See you later, Rotom. Back to its trainer, Lucario, of course, going to have those statistic drops there. And the Ferrothorn, pretty low on health here, but still in it. And I think if we see... oh, the Leech Seed, sorry. Going to get some life back now. Oh my gosh, what a great turn there, of course, for Lajos.
Yeah, that's probably a game winner. I mentioned originally that it's such a tough first turn because so many things could happen, and we're kind of seeing we were surprised, I guess, originally by the Ice Fang from Mega Aerodactyl as opposed to Mega Lucario, and now we kind of see the other end of that, where Lucario did have a surprise of its own with the Focus Sash. Not the most common item on Lucario, definitely, but certainly one that allowed it to make a huge play there. Any other item, and it's going to get knocked out there, I guess, other than Chuckaberry. But because it has a Focus Sash, it gets a big knockout, and that's probably a game winner here. Ferrothorn shouldn't have too much trouble stalling the game out from this point, and I don't know, pretty impressive there. Definitely a first game where I'm sure Marcus is probably rolling his eyes a little bit, but he learned a lot of things to try to adjust in the second game from this one.
Yeah, definitely. Now, like you said earlier, the big thing here was reducing just all those Pokemon over time. Like you said, it's really like kind of had its effect over the course of the match. It's not like he did these big hits. It's just like everyone's at really low hit points right now. Now we see the double protect stalling out essentially that Garchomp getting a little bit of life back onto the Frothorn. Garchomp left with 8 hit points, and Frothorn most likely going to be able to stick around even through another Earthquake here.
Yeah, impressive how dominant Frothorn was this game, too. And normally with a Pokemon like that one, it's kind of a finisher, right? Like you want to weaken the whole enemy team, then send it in. You can kind of finish stuff off with Leech Seed once the big counters have been removed. But Frothorn kind of weakened everything for itself this time. It was its own support. It kind of knocked everything down into range where it could stall it out in its own. One more turn and Garchomp will go down to the Leech Seed here, and likely Frothorn will try to apply another one to Kangaskhan here, which would be game if it gets it off, most likely.
Yeah, Frothorn MVP right here. There it goes. Actually, with the Kangaskhan, or I'm sorry, not Kangaskhan, Garchomp deciding to go with the Dragon Claw into that Lucario slot, getting rid of it, protecting that Kangaskhan, and Kang power-up punching into the Frothorn, doing a decent amount of damage here, but Frothorn going to get a little bit of health back. I don't think the Iron Barbs and potential Rocky Helmet here are going to be enough. No. Kangaskhan still sticking around, has really reduced the health there, but gonna, again, pull a little bit of the life back from the Leech Seed. It's not necessarily over at this point. Oh, but then again, the Gyro Ball finishes it off. There it is. That's all he needed, a little Gyro Ball and the Leech Seed. I think that just about did it. Remember that one time I said it's not necessarily over?
And then it was over. A smart move there to Gyro Ball instead of Leech Seeding, though. It doesn't take any chances and gets the big knockout here. So interesting to see how dominant Frothorn was there. I wasn't really expecting I guess what I would say is, Frothorn's kind of become less popular as the year has gone on. At the very beginning of the season, Ray Rizzo won a regional with it, and the whole Brave Lumberry thing got popular, and then it started kind of dying off. There were a lot of Pokemon that were carrying moves that disrupted it a lot. There was a little more substitute, a lot more fire moves. So it kind of fell out of the metagame a little bit, but it's kind of an interesting time to see it come back. It's still good against Mawile and Kangaskhan, who are still the two most common megas. We saw a ton of rain at U.S. Nationals and also win Korean Nationals, and I believe the UK Nationals. So rain's become a decent amount of a thing, which Frothorn is awful good against as well. So interesting time to see it come back, I guess. It'll be. I'm not completely sure what Yoshi's team is since what we got wasn't correct. So it'll be interesting to see what he has exactly that can deal with this, because he pretty much lost to one Pokemon in the first game other than Aerodactyl knocking out Salamence and that Fire Blast it was likely carrying on the first turn.
Yeah, very true, Scott. I think that it's funny we did get a little, what team is that again? Is this Yoshi? Who is this guy? But yeah, it's going to be big. There's definitely some adjustments that are going to need to be made, and I love discussing Frothorn. It's personally one of my most hated Pokemon because I always lose to it. But it's great. We are seeing a lot come back. I think there was just a lot of fire threats early on. A lot of people were running the special Tyrannitars, the Fire Blast, and Goodras. Not a lot of people were running Goodra, but there was so much Fire Blast threat that it was like, I can't even run Frothorn. But it seems like it's slowly creeping back in there with the rain.
Yeah, and I kind of like that. I mean, I think that's sort of the fun of a format like VGC, where you keep the same rules every year, but it doesn't change the fact that some Pokemon's value is different at different points in the season. You kind of have to anticipate what's popular that your opponents are using, and then some things that maybe weren't good in April but were good in January will be good again in August. There's those trends, and Ferrothorn's probably heading up right now. I don't know if we'll see a whole lot in the World Championships, just because it's one of those things where it's either really good or really bad most of the time. But definitely an interesting option.
Agreed there. Now, we do actually end up seeing the Gengar as well as the Wash Rotom this time. So interesting. We didn't see Gengar at all last time. And I believe Azumarill didn't even make an appearance either. So we got the Azumarill and Aerodactyl lead there for Lajo.
Yeah, so we've seen Aerodactyl's Mega already. It'd be interesting to see if Gengar is as well, I should say. It's low HP here, so it's more likely it's an offensive variant. Yoshi kind of popularized the support Gengar in the West. It had been used in Japan a decent bit, but we hadn't really seen it in any Western tournaments until he went undefeated in the German national tournament with his Gengar. But I guess we'll have to see if he's using the same set this time or something a little different.
Right on, and now we do see the Mega Aerodactyl again, of course, revealing that last time. We weren't sure, we were on the fence, was it going to be Lucario Aerodactyl, but we do know it's Aerodactyl. We see the Protect on Gengar there, and an attack apparently going into Gengar, doesn't affect him. The Rock Slide going to do an okay amount of damage to Rotom, but not quite probably what he wanted to get done there, and the one shot from Rotom, that super effective Hydro Pump right into the face of Aerodactyl.
Yeah, wise move there. With the Aerodactyl Azumarill lead, there's a lot of things being threatened. I would be surprised if this isn't Belly Drum Azumarill, just because it's one of those leads where, like, if you lead Aerodactyl, you get the Sky Drop off on, like, the one Pokemon that's led that can disrupt Belly Drum, then you kind of get it off for free. He opts not to go that route there in the face of probably Will-O-Wisp or Sludge Bomb Gengar, and probably Will-O-Wisp and Thunderbolt Rotom, and he gets the free knockout instead. But he could still set it up here, because with Lucario, there's a good chance it is Follow Me, so I'd be able to absorb 2 attacks here and ensure the Belly Drum goes off. So kind of an interesting secondary mode for Lajos' team there, with the ability to support Belly Drum really well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it makes sense. It was revealed last time that the Lucario has the Focus Sash, so it's definitely going to be a 2-shot to this Lucario no matter what. So the Belly Drum sweep incoming, possibly? We'll see.
I mean, if he does get it off, though, he's going to have to give up a whole lot to do it. He'd end up with a +6 Azumarill, but he'd be down 4-2, so big risk.
Yeah, well, you were correct, Scott. Looks like we are seeing the Follow Me, and a big old Shadow Ball fired off into Lucario, taking it down to about 50% health there, and a Thunderbolt. That's going to do it for Lucario, but are we going to see the Belly Drum? I would assume the answer is yes. And there it is. Oh, drum that belly. Oh, you won't, little egg. Peekaboo, you won't drum that belly. There it is. And proccing the Citrus Berry, so getting back up to about 75% health here, but maybe just too late into the matchup at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to actually get it off. I mean, if you're going to make a comeback, this is a pretty good situation to be in. We saw how powerful Ferrothorn was in the previous matchup, so he still got that here. And he got +6 Azumarill, which is going to make it really difficult to actually deal with it, Ferrothorn, because, you know, Ferrothorn's one of those Pokemon where if you ignore it, you know, it leech seeds up your whole team, and you kind of just slowly lose. But focusing it down and ignoring the +6 Azumarill isn't exactly a good option either. So even though Marcus has this giant lead, it's going to be a little tough to actually defend it. The one thing that is great for Marcus is that unless he makes an error here, Azumarill is going to have a hard time picking up KOs.
Yeah, definitely. Nice, though, the double protect here. Maybe getting a little scout off. Protect from Azumarill, stalling out the Azumarill. I think that is exactly what he wanted. Knew that Azumarill was most likely going to protect, stalls it out, and is now in a great position here.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that play. I was going to say, I think that's the best play for him there. Because all he has to do is avoid making a mistake, and now it's much less likely that he'll do so. He knows if he attacks, he can just double target that Azumarill now if he wants to now. And unless he gets the double protect, which is only 1 in 3 this generation, he'll get that knockout and be in a situation where it's really hard to lose the game.
All right, the Aqua Jet into Gengar, who's Focus Sashed as well. Oh, Gengar, sorry, gonna hit back really with a nasty Sludge Bomb there. 1 shot. It only takes that 2 times effectiveness against fairies there. Sorry about that, Azumarill. And a Thunderbolt into the Ferrothorn slot there. Not really gonna do much, but at this point, really Ferrothorn's good, but 3 Pokemon, I don't know if it's that good.
Yeah, I mean, the only way Ferrothorn's going to get out of this one is if Marcus just picked a team that's incredibly weak to Ferrothorn, which seems unlikely given that how much he did the first game. We do see Salamence come in here, which will likely carry that Fire Blast. And that's one thing I was thinking before when Azumarill did get that belly drop up, was that, well, you know, if it Gengar, if it's not a Mega, which based on its HP, it almost definitely wasn't, it's going to have that Focus Sash, Salamence resist Aqua Jet, Rotom resist Aqua Jet. It's just hard to imagine a comeback from that situation.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Scott. You know what is actually interesting about this matchup? We did see a lot of intel from both players. We see the Follow Me Lucario. We see the Focus Sash Gengar. He knows about the Lumberry, obviously, on the Ferrothorn. We see the Belly Drum Azumarill. So there's a lot of information on the table now for both trainers.
Yeah, I feel really good, especially by Marcus personally. I think Marcus's team's a little bit more straightforward. When you look at the team preview, I imagine, since I haven't looked at the team preview, but in my head, when you look at the team preview here, it seems like it's the sort of thing where you know basically what all those Pokemon do, and it's not about figuring it out so much as figuring out how to beat it. Whereas Lajos' team was a lot more complicated, right? There was a ton of tricks on it, and I think Marcus had an excellent losing game 1, where even though he didn't win the game, and he lost sort of handily there, I think that he got enough out of that game where it's very likely that he could come through and win the second and the third game. In a best of 3 like this, you don't have to win 2-0. There's no advantage to getting the 2-0 victory instead of a 2-1. So, and that game 1, even though he lost, he learned a whole lot, and I think he's in a really good position now as far as Lajo seems like he's probably out of surprises, so I think that with that belly drum gambit not working in the second term, it's going to be really tough for Lajos to find a way to come ahead in the third game here.
Yeah, it could be tough, but Pokemon can be a crazy game, and and you never know. Players can come back from pretty much nothing. Looks like both of our competitors actually already in the match. They knew what they wanted to bring. I guess the scout was there. They're like, we know what we want from each team. They're already into the match here. I know that we had a slight delay where you couldn't see the screen, guys, but we are actually back. And as you can see, the game is going on now. We see our leads here from Marcus. It's going to be Marcus, who is also known as Yoshi, is his tag, brings in the Salamence, fires off a double Intimidate right onto that Aerodactyl. We see the Wash Rotom as well, and Lajo bringing Aerodactyl and Hydreigon this time.
Yeah, so not too... I guess if Lajos has any more tricks there, Hydreigon is kind of it, right? We haven't seen it in the previous matches, so sort of the last trump card he's got here to try to pull off something that is unexpected here. I would not be surprised at all if it's holding either Choice Scarf or Hobbenberry just to try to continue to... The theme of this team, I guess, seems to be taking people by surprise, right? So if there's any surprises left here, you've got to expect there's something up Hydreigon's sleeve here. Also very likely that Marcus will be a little more careful against Aerodactyl this time, not wanting to immediately lose it to Ice Fang the way he did in the first game. So if it does, or if Hydreigon is a choice spec set, which is the more common version, Rotom is going to have to be careful about Draco Meteor here because Salamence just choosing to blow up Hydreigon here isn't exactly a safe play.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's a tough lead there with the Salamence. It was nice getting the Intimidate off, but the typing mismatch was very evident there for what the moves the Pokemon carried. We do see the switch out into Gengar. The Aerodactyl does go Mega. And I wonder what we're going to see here. Is it going to be the Skydrop play right from the beginning? Let's see. No, it's another Rock Slide, actually. Nice, doing decent damage to the Gengar, but not much to the Rotom there. A big risky play, doubles up into the Rotom slot. Could have missed that and lost the Aerodactyl early, but actually ends up getting the Draco Meteor, and we do see Rotom returning to Yoshi. So huge turn one for Lajo.
Yeah, that's going to be a really tough turn to recover from, actually. In spite of, I was talking about how much Marcus had learned from the first few games, but normally when you're at an information advantage, you don't lead into a disadvantageous turn one, and he definitely did there. And because of the way that the turn one was shaking out there, I either had to take a risk, which he wasn't willing to do, like Draco Meteoring into that Hydreigon, just hoping he didn't get Ice Fang. So he was kind of trying to take as few losses as he could that turn. But like I mentioned, because of that Ice Fang, Salamence wasn't really protecting Rotom the way it would normally do against a Hydreigon there, and Lajos wasn't intimidated by that Salamence, even though his Pokemon were. And you get the Rock Slide Draco Meteor combo on the Rotom for an easy knockout there, and that's a big lead to try to come back from now. Yeah,
it's pretty scary. There's so many threats now, and Yoshi has to know it. The Protect, though, on Salamence, feeling him there, doesn't want to take that Ice Fang like you said. What are we going to see? Another Rock Slide. Could potentially pick up the flinch on Gengar. Let's see what we get here. Oh, Gengar, I think, avoided a Draco Meteor. I'm not sure if that's what I just saw. But
yeah,
or did we see a flinch? I can read German not today.
Yeah, I'm assuming it flinched. I'm also, I don't know if Hydreigon meteored it or into the Protect there, but only the Rock Slide for damage that turn. But still, now we have Gengar likely in range of Rock Slide, which makes this tournament even more difficult to play through for Marcus, because if Aerodactyl just Rock Slides here, Salamence kind of is in a losing position, because it can try to knock out either of the two Pokemon, but then whichever one survives will be able to knock it out next turn, or I guess afterward, either Hydreigon later this turn or Aerodactyl next turn.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. I believe picking up that flinch there, that Rock Slide can be so devastating. Rock Slide is a double-edged sword, and it looks like he does fire off the Rock Slide like you suggested, gets rid of Gengar, does a ton of damage to Salamence, and the Draco Meteor actually going first there. There we go. Big old Draco Meteor into that slot. I don't know, is it going to pick it up? Yes, big old hit there. Super effective against Dragon typing, of course, Dragon v Dragon there. And the Hydreigon faints, but I believe that Aerodactyl has just done the work.
Yeah, I think it likely got enough done here. So I guess we never really learn the item in Hydreigon for sure. It's most likely choice specs based on what we saw there, but Oh, wow. We see Lucario coming in here, which is a fantastic final Pokemon. Aerodactyl with a couple quick Ice Fangs, likely going to be able to knock out both of the enemy Pokemon here. And it's going to get some protection here from Lucario and the option of Follow Me to prevent it from being double targeted. So a real tough spot for Marcus to try to figure his way out of now.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like protect here on that Garchomp. Is it going to be a double protect? Nope. Oh, wow. And actually decides to just break whatever potential protect there was going to be and get rid of the Salamence there. Great call. No Follow Me this time. And yeah, I think that that's going to be all she wrote once we see an Ice Fang into that Garchomp slot.
Yeah, I mean, it was even better than Follow Me there with the combination of Feint and Ice Fang. Unless there was a critical hit there was not really any way to get out of it for Marcus there. I'd already seen Protect on Salamence, so he explored the information by using the Feint there. A really smart play.
Yeah, gotta love Feint. It's you gotta love it and hate it. Anytime that you're like, oh, I'm protecting, no way I'm taking damage. Psych, Feint to my face. All right, we do see a big Ice Fang, but it's actually not quite enough to get rid of Garchomp. I guess bulk down on Garchomp there, and hits back with a Dragon Claw of its own, but the close combat definitely going to be enough to finish it off. Down to 0 HP. It goes back to Yoshi, the man that thought he was going to bring the hurt on this one. But Yoshi, great battle, dude. You really, really impressed, and congrats to Lajo for going on into the tournament. Incredible. Both of these players, I mean, we're talking the top 2 people from the season here.
Yeah, I mean, and I think these two guys, like I said before, they're probably a little bit better than that. I'd say they're probably both in the top dozen of the players in the world. And really cool that we get to see them battle each other here. Unfortunately,
oh,
the
so
big
GG on screen. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Big GG on screen. What a nice guy. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, Scott, you were saying?
Yeah, it's good. You got to appreciate the good manners there. Good sportsmanship. Like to see that. But yeah, it's a great matchup between two really excellent players there. And like I mentioned, between the games there, I thought Yoshi probably had that one in the bag the way the second game went. But it wasn't really by surprises that Lajos ended up winning by. He just kind of outled him in the third game there and always had control. So interesting that we see the less conventional team coming out on top 2. I know, especially after U.S. Nationals, a lot of people were a little disheartened by how well some of the conventional teams were doing. You know, Kangaskhan and Rain in particular was just dominating, but a really unconventional team by one of the game's most creative team builders in Lajos there. And I guess he shows that you can beat even the best players using the most common Pokemon when you've got the right combination of obscure tricks up your sleeve, combined, I guess, with some more conventional options as well.
Yeah, definitely. That team has a lot of synergy, but you saw how it can be dismantled really fast if you take away that partnership. Like we saw the Azumarill was really just out of luck once you got rid of his support. So it can be like I said earlier, it can be quite the double-edged sword. It's like, wow, if I get it, this is huge, but if my tricks kind of don't work, you can be really left in the dust.
Yeah, I mean, I got a fortune cookie today, and it said, be innovative, take charge of new ideas. So I guess, Lajos taking that lesson to heart there with the Aerodactyl there. Mega Aerodactyl, not something we see a whole lot of, but I think the combination of it and Ferrothorn almost single-handedly just really ripped up those teams there, or that team there, I should say. So I guess it shows that, if being creative works, too, if you can do it well enough.
Definitely. Let's see where we are at. I wonder if we can get a bracket up on screen here. Maybe we can get an idea of where the tournament is. Guys, that was round 2 for those of you that maybe just popped in or something. That was round 2 of this tournament. So we are looking to be in the top 8 here, Scott. It's going to get crazy competitive. Some big names knocked out early.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the fun of it. I mean, we didn't go through the first round too aggressively, but yeah, I mean, the first round we lost a lot of really excellent players. The famous Cybertron, CT Cybertron, Aaron Zhang losing the first round. It's been a tough year for him there, but hopefully he can turn things around before the World Championships in a couple weeks. The first round we also saw some big players like NB Major finalist Biart went down. Simon, who made it to the top 8 of U.S. Nationals, went down. So a lot of good players went out in the first round, and the second round is kind of just going, but we see the NB Major champion, Dark Assassin, going down to Samuel 996 there after another upset win he had in the first round over the Battle Room. So he's really making a statement today, I'd say, knocking out 2 players a little bit more accomplished than him. We see N-Forbes and R-Inanimate tied at 1-1 right now. M-Forbes trying to make another upset after knocking out Cybertron. So 2 of the more famous players in not the country, since Randy is Canadian, but I guess in the region here in North America. So it'd be very impressive if he can knock both those guys out. We see Boom Guy, who played in the previous round on stream, down a game to Pretty Little Liars Slash and Fuego there. So it's another big one. So I don't know, a lot of really exciting matches here, and I guess it's hard to even call some of these matches upsets. This round of 16 features a lot of really, really good players, so somebody's always got to lose.
Yeah, this is big, and this is a great tournament. I'm really excited to see it because with Worlds coming up right around the corner, these are definitely people that we're gonna either see in Worlds or potentially making a run in the LCQ. Like there's a lot of guys here that you might want to get to know because they could be your future world champion.
Yeah, they definitely could be. We see Massey knocked out Hibiki there, so I believe he's going to. I don't know if he's going to play in the LCQ or not, but he's someone who's played in Worlds for a few years, so I know Hibiki is going to play in the LCQ, so we could see more of both of them. We see Massey's going to go on to play CT Makoto Misaka / Sapphire Burst / Angel Miranda, who I know is another player who's going to play in the LCQ after spending most of his time in the TCG this year. So someone who's been really good online and just hasn't gotten the chance to play in real life because he's been playing the card game instead. So I'll be interested to see how he does. Surprising, actually, to see how few players that are still alive in the tournament are actually going to be playing the World Championship this year. There's a lot of players who were very close and will be playing in the LCQ instead, or who have their World invite like Lajos but didn't get the paid trip and I believe aren't attending. So it just, I guess, you kind of have both things where a lot of the players attending Worlds are kind of using this to get some practice and kind of get themselves into form, whereas some of the players who aren't making the World Championships, it's kind of like their last shot at redemption in this format. They're kind of proving that maybe they had things going a little differently during their national tournaments, that they could have played in the World Championships and done very well too. So I like those stories too. You can't win every tournament. I mean, you can't always win, right? But sometimes you're going to have those years where things didn't work out quite how you would have liked them to, and it's nice that they get one more shot to at least win a nice prize here and kind of show that they're not so bad at this format after all.
Yeah, definitely. And I see a ton of people actually got really pumped when we started saying LCQ in the chat. Scott, do you have any other additional information potentially on Worlds, people wanting to get into that last chance qualifier? Like, is it happening? And by the way, that's what it stands for, last chance qualifier. If we say LCQ, sorry about that. I know we abbreviate things. Scott also said TCG. I'm sure you guys know what that is, but it is the trading card game. So, Scott, what's the word on that? Do you have to pre-register? Where should people go?
Yeah, we should definitely talk about that. Thanks for bringing that up, Justin. There is an online pre-registration for the LCQ. It takes place, the LCQ itself takes place the day before the World Championships, the Friday before Worlds. It's not next Friday, but the Friday afterward, in the venue in Washington, D.C. So if you're going to go to the event, you want to just check out the World Championships, and kind of enjoy the scene. You do get a chance to try to qualify. The top 4 players in the Last Chance Qualifier, which is a single elimination tournament, the day before, it's all best of 3 matches. The top 4 players that do get to go on to play in the World Championship. So you get one last chance to play if you'd like to. You do need to pre-register online first. Hopefully someone can post the link for that in the chat because I don't have it handy. But so it's a fun tournament. You get one last chance to play. A really high-tension environment, which is a lot of fun. We don't see single elimination in VGC too often anymore, but it's kind of cool. Once in a while, I guess, to kind of just play. That if you win, you can make it to the World Championships. If you don't, you're out for the season. So you've got your season on the line every round. I really like the LCQ. I played it in 2011 and 2012. 2012, I got through it. In 2011, I lost in the last round. So I had pretty good runs there. But I just think, to me, it's exhilarating, right? Like Pokemon competition to me is always fun, but the LCQ is like the tension is just so much higher than any other tournament, knowing that it is it if you lose every round, and I think it's a lot of fun. So I definitely suggest checking it out if you're going to be in the area and you haven't already qualified for the World Championships.
For sure. So I hope you guys got that information. It looks like Rashawn pulled it up actually on screen there for everybody to kind of like get a little gander at for a minute. So guys, register online early if you plan on doing that. It's in DC, and like Scott said, it's not this coming Friday, but it'll be the next Friday, which is the 14th or something, 14th, 15th. I think it's the 15th.
15th, yeah.
I think it's the 15th, guys. So, hey, man, I mean, if you really want to give it a go, I mean, I would say do it, especially if you're close. I mean, if you got to go coast to coast and the flight's expensive and things like that, I understand. But it could happen. You really could make it into the World Championships. And, you guys put a lot of time into Pokemon, so So do it. So give it a try, 1 year if you can. I would definitely make it happen. And like Scott said, make sure you pre-register online. You don't want to show up and get turned away. That'd be a bad time. And it looks like we have our results in for round 2. I don't know if you want to just run or for round 2. So we are going into round 3. Scott, I don't know if you want to just run everyone over it again before we find our next match.
Yeah, sure thing. We did get a couple more matches. Probably the big story, the updates we just got, is that Ray Rizzo was eliminated, so we won't see the 3-time world champion becoming a 1-time Nugget Bridge Invitational champion. He lost the 2 straight games to Baz Anderson, and I think Baz is worth getting a little extra comment on too, but he had 2 really difficult opponents in Simon and Ray, both of whom made it to the top 8 of the U.S. Nationals last year, or this year rather. So Baz kind of having a rougher season this year, not qualifying for the World Championships. I believe he's flying over to play in the LCQ. So definitely going to be threatening there. I know he had a tough year, but I think with 2 best-of-3 wins against players of that caliber, you've got to assume he's ready now. He's going to have another tough opponent against Mr. Bopper here, who's also qualified for or I guess not who's also, but as who, like Ray, has qualified for the World Championship. So that should be a really interesting round 3 match. We mentioned before that Angel and Masi have made it to round 3 of that quarterfinal matchup. And then above, we've got Samuel against Lajo, and Randy was able to knock out M. Forbes. So he's going to be playing against Pretty Little Liar up there. So we've got a lot of players in the quarterfinals with who've qualified for Worlds before, but maybe not the names we expected to get up here. A lot of favorites have fallen out already with people like Ray and Yoshi and Cybertron dropping out. But I certainly wouldn't expect that the people in the quarterfinals are too surprising to people. We've got Canada's best player in Arn Animate. Pretty Little Liars had kind of a rough year here, but he did Top Cut Worlds 2 years in a row in 2011 and 2012. So he'll always kind of be one of the game's legendary players, even when he's having an off year. Lajo, another player who's he's more recently kind of become successful in the scene, but not too surprising to anyone. Very popular player. Samuel, I guess, is a surprise, and then I guess the lower half of the bracket too is all players that. They might not be, first place in the CP circuit right now, but they're all players that we know are excellent guys. So a really tough top 8 series here, even though it maybe isn't the most famous of all players. So I'll be really excited to see who comes out of this one. And this is a really important round, too, because this is the last round where they're playing, and if they lose, they get nothing, right? If you win this round, you're guaranteed money. So I'm expecting this to be a very high-tension round for all the players playing in it, knowing that at least they'll get something for their circuit endeavors this year if they can win one more round.
Yeah, Scott, let's talk about that really quick. I know that Nugget Bridge has put $1,000 on the line for this tournament. So, guys, this is a big tournament. This isn't just like, hey, let's all have a little fun today, which is also a tight tournament. But this is the real deal right now. There's first place is going to get 500. I think I saw the payout. Is that true?
Yeah, I believe it's 500 for first, 250 for second, and 125 for third and fourth. One thing with Nugget Bridge is that now that we're a little bit bigger and we're actually making ad revenue, we didn't want to, we're not a for-profit site, right? So we pay the bills with the ad money, and then we put all the leftover money into the circuit. And the Invitational is the tournament that gets the most of our revenue here. So to us, it's the most prestigious tournament. It's kind of like our circuit's world's analog where you've played throughout the whole season in the live events or by doing well in the major or the other big official tournament, the Dodrio Cup. So you've kind of earned the right to play in this tournament. And, we're hoping it's at least a little bit prestigious now, right? I think that looking at the roster of players here, it's certainly looks like it's an accomplishment to get to the top 4, the finals. A lot of good players have lost already today, and I guess a lot of great players didn't even make it to this stage. So I think even just getting to the Invitational is quite an accomplishment. And all the players here are doing an excellent job, and the tension's high now. I think that round right before you make money is always kind of the hardest because at some level in the semis and the finals, just gravy, where at least you've got something. But this is the one where it really, really sucks if you lose this round, knowing that you're kind of right in the edge of getting something, didn't quite make it. So hopefully for all these guys, they'll put their best effort in the field next round.
Yeah, man, that's funny. Scott, what a nice guy, you Nugget Bridge staff, putting all your money back into the community after you pay your bills. I spend all my money on pizza, so I apologize. Thank you guys for all those kind donations, but your money goes into dough, cheese, and sauce, sometimes pepperoni, mostly deep dish. Just letting everyone know. I'm coming clean today, Scott. I'm coming clean.
At least you're not doing anything really crazy. You get pizza. It'd be one thing if you're just get a salad with all your money. I can respect the pizza.
I'd get in trouble if I was spending money on salad. You got to respect the pizza, as Scott said. But guys, it looks like we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with, it looks like not quite the semifinals. It's going to be round 3 to see who goes to the semis and makes that fat dough that Nugget Bridge put on the line. We'll see you back in a quick second. Lots of big dogs knocked out. Be right back from Jay Flynn and Scott. Enjoy.